you do a lot of different kind of cases. You have an E2 article coming up in the next issue, along with Zane, which is your colleague. And what let's focus on the O-1A. It was really interesting because gaming is an area that it's still new, so it's not necessarily accepted by everyone to think of it as what it is. But if you look at the statistics, it's a behemoth. It's like a giant thing.
Right.
What kind of things are you seeing? More clients in this area, and how is USCIS dealing with these cases?
So really, I mean, when I started, I've been practicing for about a decade, and really when I came in, it was seen as I even had trouble coming to terms with like video game clients. I was like, how do you make someone extraordinary in the video game field and not make it sound like we're talking about Mario Brothers or something like that?
Yeah.
The person I learned under, he's like, you don't call it video games, you call it interactive multimedia entertainment productions. Sounds much more impressive.
Yeah.
And then you would go from there. And now, I mean, it has grown significantly since when I started. And I think it really showed up during this, during the COVID pandemic, when the video game field boomed to surpass, I think they surpassed the movie industry.
Wow.
And I think it really came to terms with the vast majority of like even private equity and other businesses, just how much money was available and how this was just, it was an entertainment field. And there's just a whole new generation of individuals who grew up on video games, like myself, who now have a lot of disposable income and are now using that. And that's what you want to do. You want to buy the $500 gaming system. And now the games are $70, $80 a piece. And so they're investing a lot more. Similar to like Grand Theft Auto, you're looking at not billions, hundreds of millions invested in a single title. Like that was unheard of maybe 10 years ago.
But they're blowing out these movies that are like the same budget sometimes. So, what countries is an O1 or a gamer generally coming from, or is it just so spread out? There's no dominant countries.
There's no real dominant country. I would say the vast majority of artists come out of Asia. And the rest it's kind of spaced out. I haven't seen really any kind of focus on any country in particular. And it really will and it really depend on where maybe there's a parent company like CD Projekt Red's mainly in Eastern Europe. There's big studios in the UK. There's studios in France, and there's Ubisoft in Canada. So they will drive some of that just simply because there's a big hub there.
Yeah. Like when I imagine it, or when I see these competitions, there's always a lot of South Korean kids, and I can say kids in a dark, but like very young people.
Right.
A lot of times they're like in groups and teams. Is that how their competitions work?
It really depends on it's going to depend on the game they're playing. StarCraft 2 has really fallen off, but that was primarily, that's a 1v1 type sport. League of Legends, which is still fairly popular, that's a team sport. It's 5v5. Other, Counter-Strike, I believe, is still a team one. So it really, like any other sports, like tennis versus baseball versus basketball, it's going to depend on how the game was structured.
And then do you get different kind of things like a P for them, or like instead of an O-1A, I don't do O's and P's, so I'm not well versed, but for the group ones, is there a different kind of visa category, or O-1As for individuals, or?
So basically for athletes, if we're looking at esport athletes, you're primarily going to look at P's. The criteria is significantly lower. The bar for the regulatory bar is much, much lower. And then you're right. If it's a team, you can combine the team. So the success of the team can be imparted on everyone on that group. And so that's how they would come over. The benefit of the O1 is that it will allow these athletes to stay in the US, and then they can get sponsors. They can do Twitch streaming. They can do a lot more with that. Whereas with the P, they're really restricted to only doing the competitions. And like training and stuff.
So it makes sense. So you have a bigger itinerary, so you can just stay here for 3 years and just do these sponsorship and stuff.